There's a tendency sometimes whenever a coach or player is asked about a new addition to the team to read into the answer and think, hey, whatever he's saying positive about the new guy, it must be throwing shade at the old guy. I will succumb to that. I will do it full. I tried to fight against it, but when DeMeco Ryans was asked about what excites him about this new Nick Caley offense, just see if you find yourself starting to think about Bobby Slowick a little bit as DeMeco gives this answer.
What excites me most about Caley's offense is that it's evolving and it's being tailored toward the Houston Texans and the guys that we have on our roster. So what excites me the most is not just copy and paste from other places that he's been, and he's been very successful at other places, but he's been very, very thorough with the installation process of where do we want to put our guys, what position, what's the best spot for our guys to be in. So you look at it through that lens, it's going to be about the Houston Texans, and that's what I love most about the offense is him being able to be adaptable and put our guys where they need to be.
Adaptable and put our guys where they need to be. This 100% first and foremost is the opposite of, I think, what Bobby Slowick felt like he was doing the last couple of years, where there were just too many mismatches, perhaps guys being asked to do things, particularly on the O-line, that they're not well suited to. And it felt a lot of times like, man, Bobby Slowick is trying to be the best version of Kyle Shanahan he can be, who he learned under. I think the thing with Caley is it's all talk at this point, but the adaptability, not just overall, but within a game, you look at the Texans offense and how bad they were in the second half. That's not just halftime adjustments. That's adjusting from series to series. What works? Hey, when should I be calling a pass versus calling a run? How do we set up the play action? Should we be in different personnel groupings? Bobby wasn't good at it, and you hope that Nick Caley will be. It's very New England-like in its philosophy. If you think about, for years people would talk about the New England offense, and you couldn't really characterize it by whether they were running team, whether they were a check down offense, whether they were a deep shot offense. It changed every single year. Sometimes within the season, the Patriots, the year that they played the Rams in the Super Bowl, it took them a half season to realize, you know what, we're a running football team. We're going to lean into the run because that's what works for us. The same thing happens on defense, and Belichick was great at making those adjustments defensively. So in terms of tailoring the offense to what your strengths are, that's everything that Caley has said. That's everything that DeMeco has said. And it's a breath of fresh air. You just got to actually put it into action. DeMeco, this is the other answer DeMeco gave that I really, really liked. And it's because this is something that as a young head coach, you don't know what you don't know until you go through it. And you've got all these fires you're trying to put out all the time. I don't know who asked the question. It was a good question. DeMeco, what have you learned about yourself as a coach?
What I learned about myself is, man, for me, and something I always believed in, is it's never rinse and repeat. It's always, you got to redefine yourself. Our game is always evolving. It's always changing. So for me as a coach is how do I continue to keep up with the trends? How do I put myself in a position to be a better leader? And that comes with delegating more, giving other guys more opportunities to grow. For me, stepping aside and allowing guys to be the leaders, grow their leadership style and develop. That's my job as a head coach, is not only to develop players, which I love doing, but it's also to develop our coaches and our.
Yeah, and 100%. And we talked about this during the season last year. Hey, man, how come DeMeco can't help Bobby Slowick figure this offense out? DeMeco, it's really, really hard. He's a really good defensive coordinator. He's bona fide as a defensive coordinator. He's done it in two different places now. In San Francisco, you didn't know for sure because they already had a good defense and he took it over and put his own stamp on it. Here, he's created a really good defense in the course of 2 years, and he's developed some players really, really well and gotten the best out of them. But at some point, how do you transition into being the head coach? It means taking a step back from the defense a little bit. So when it comes to delegating, does Matt Burke become more of the actual defensive coordinator this year? And as Kasia asked, do you think that DeMeco is more unhappy with Bobby than he let on last season? I think so. But I think there was also an element of, hey, DeMeco's got he is elbow deep in the defense and how much can he help the offense? How much can he troubleshoot? How much can he step back and assess what's going on the offense, and do we need to make a drastic change? I think as he reflected upon it in the offseason, that's probably one of the things, given by his comments and just this is the way it goes with coaches. Yeah, that he's got to learn that I'm the guy at the top, and I got to be more of a top-down guy. I had a conversation with Dom Capers about this once after he was let go from the Texans about just this, because I love Dom Capers. I had him as a defensive when he was just a defensive coordinator in Jacksonville for a couple of years. And in the first year in 2002 of the Texans, he was very heavily involved in the defense. And then he had to step away from that because he had a David Carr and the offense situation going on. And it's hard. It's hard to do it really effectively. I think DeMeco understands the challenge. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited about watching the evolution of DeMeco Ryans as a coach this year. Yesterday, one of the more impressive things that happened was just the absence of errors, I would say. And some of the things DeMeco's about to say here sounds like it should be no big deal, but having been through it myself and having watched offenses struggle at times, like that 2002 offense with the Houston Texans early in training camp, I like this as DeMeco in his opening statement talking about what impressed him today.
Shorter day, so not much action. What really impressed me today was just our signal callers, the operation from our quarterback, our middle linebacker, our personal protector on the punt team. Was just really impressed for the first day. A lot of times you come out and there are reloads you have to do things over. But today is a really clean operation, and that's a really great start.
Yeah, and it does. It just sounds simple, right? Hey, we didn't have to reload. We didn't have to start a period over. I'll go back to 2002. Sorry, I didn't plan on going back down the memory lane so much this morning. But when it comes to things not going well early in camp, that first year with the Texans, we were a brand new football team, brand new offensive coordinator, rookie quarterback, all of that. And going into even the first week of our first game versus Dallas, we had to start practice all over again because it was that scattershot of an operation. They couldn't get a snap off on offense. So with Kaylee, what I kind of always monitor with first-time coordinators is, all right, are you trying to do too much too soon? Because everybody has a vision in their mind as a coordinator of this Rembrandt that you're going to paint. But you got to start off paint by numbers. And the temptation is to always try to add complexity, where guys like Andy Reid or longtime offensive coordinators, they start from square one every single year. And they understand that you just got to build brick by brick by brick. So the execution in a brand new offense, getting the ball out quickly and some of the quick game and passing, not having miscues pre-snap, when you start seeing your offensive line false start a bunch during training camp when there's not any officials out there or anything, that's stuff that probably freaks me out more than it would other people. So I get equally excited when I hear about just a flat out clean operation. Next one with DeMeco, just DeMeco on CJ and how he's handling this change so far, this new offense.
From CJ, I've seen continued growth. He's now learning a new scheme, learning a new offense, and he's putting in the work. He's being diligent about working to be on it when it comes to the communication, putting a lot more things on his plate. He's done a great job with that, and we'll see him continue to progress with that. So really excited for him, right, to really learn something new and really just continue to lead our team.
Yeah, the Bobby Slowick philosophy, and it's the old school Kubiak-Shanahan philosophy, was very much one, I'll go back to paint by numbers. In a lot of ways, it could take a mediocre quarterback and get the very best out of him. And no offense to Matt Schaub, Matt Schaub was limited in just what his ceiling was going to be, but they got the absolute best and most out of guys like Matt Schaub, Sage Rosenfels, etc. But it put a cap on exactly how much you can, especially with the way the NFL has changed and evolved. The way defenses now are so good at disguising their looks, both at the front and in coverages, that I just think that when you have a quarterback who's mentally able to handle all that stuff, and CJ Stroud 100% is capable of it, that you got to give the quarterback more command at the line of scrimmage. I think we had a little power glitch there. I'm in Oregon, by the way, Eugene, Oregon. I'm stuck here for a little while. It's a good place to be stuck as long as you don't have to pay the state income taxes. So that part of it, I'm excited about. I'm excited about CJ and how he can evolve in this offense. Next one from DeMeco is on CJ's ownership of the offense.
For sure, from that quarterback perspective, you want that ownership. You want it to be on your plate, so to speak. And CJ, he's looking forward to it. He's open to it. He wanted it, and we're here. And so I think he's done a really fantastic job so far. And Kaylee's done a really great job of working with him. They're getting on the same page, making sure the terminology, everything makes sense, so we can get in and out of the huddle fast. We can play fast. We can operate clean, and we've been doing that.
That was the one I wanted to hear. Getting in and out of the huddle fast. Remember that? I mean, it was just mind-numbingly excruciating to watch last year at times, the offense breaking the huddle and getting up to the line with 5 seconds left on the play clock, which cancels out anything that the quarterback might figure out pre-snap. You guys remember a few weeks ago I showed a clip of Tom Brady pre-snap once where it was them up at the line of scrimmage with more than 25 seconds on the play clock, and Tom Brady making at least 4 pre-snap adjustments. He realigned Rob Gronkowski. He adjusted the X receiver's route from a go route to a slant, and he communicated with the right. He made 2 different mic calls, reassigned the mic, all those things. You can't do that with 5 seconds before the snap. So just getting in and out of the huddle, getting the play call, getting up to the line of scrimmage, and then giving CJ Stroud time to operate. 25 seconds compared to 5 seconds is a lifetime. The other thing that happens too as a defensive lineman, from your perspective, from my perspective as a defensive lineman, you just get tired being in your stance. Sounds dumb, but that lactic acid, you're on the 10th play of a drive and you're in your stance for 25 seconds. It sucks. It sucks. And it does. And defensive players start to get kind of antsy. Playing against Peyton Manning was the worst because Peyton would get up the line and he would milk every second of the play clock and he would use hard counts. Another thing you can't do when you get up with 5 seconds before the snap is using dummy counts and hard counts to, you go up and you give a hard dummy count and all of a sudden the safety who's blitzing shows his hand because he gets edgy and he starts showing up, and then all of a sudden the quarterback knows what blitz is coming. He can reset the pass protection. He can tweak the play calls because he's in your playbook already. And there was just zero chance of that. And again, from my perspective as a defensive lineman playing against a guy like Peyton Manning, you're down in your stance. You've been in your stance for 20 seconds. You got a safety blitz coming from the left. And then all of a sudden, 7 seconds before the play clock expires, you hear Peyton Manning with his hard count see what's happening, and then he checks and changes everything. And you just think, we're screwed. We're screwed. Thanks a lot, strong safety. So that part I'm really excited about watching CJ operate in that element. One of the big topics, obviously, is going to be the offensive line. Here's DeMeco on the offensive line yesterday, in which there were no pads, remember?
Yeah, for the O-line, Will, it's always tough when it's hard for me to, you continue to evaluate O-line. It's hard when you don't have pads on because that's how the game is played up front, O-line, D-line. You got to put the pads on to have a true evaluation of how that'll look. But the small things that stuck out to me and what Cole has done a really good job of, just those small, intricate details that they'll translate, pads or not, and that's hand placement, your feet being right, like where are your shoulders, where are your eyes, the communication, all of those little things that really allow those guys to bind together as one.
Yeah, so execution. And this is what frustrated me so much last year was when Slowick would get up in press conferences, and credit to Slowick, I think Slowick was open, he would own his mistakes, et cetera, but he almost talked about execution like it was something separate from his job duties. And that's where I didn't have time to get upset about Bobby Slowick's actual play calling because I felt like he was himself missing the real important thing, which is, dude, the execution is your responsibility. You're the offensive coordinator. You're not just a whiteboard warrior. It's about the execution of the finer details. And that is one thing that I've appreciated and liked so far about Nick Caley is that every time he talks, he's saying something about the really small stuff, the details that really matter. And your no pads, how much can you get accomplished? It's those first two steps. A lot of times those first two steps tell you whether the offensive lineman or the defensive lineman is going to win. The hand placement, you can work on all of that with no pads. So so far so good. We're one day of no pads practices into training camp, and basically they've won the Super Bowl. Yes, Cheshire, thank you for that. Retired Row, I understand that CJ has been watching film on Tom Brady, and it was from the early days of Tom Brady. That part I think is interesting because Tom Brady evolved into a different guy over the course of his first 10 years and did a lot of things as they developed, as they switched offensive coordinators and went into Josh McDaniels. It got a lot more complex, but I almost feel in keeping with this theme of really getting the basics right, that Kaylee is probably taking this approach with CJ is, hey, we're gonna get the bread and butter right, and then we'll add, we'll graduate to 201 level, then the 301 level, then the 401 level, and that makes my heart all warm and gooey inside, even warmer and gooier than it already was. I don't worry too much about the lack of national coverage. I prefer it. You know what? Yeah, I didn't like it. I don't need last year where all of a sudden people were putting the Texans in the Super Bowl when I felt going into last year, and you guys that have been on this channel or listened to Sports Radio 610 know, I wasn't 100% completely sold on Bobby Slowick going into last year. My biggest reservation about him was that he hadn't shown that he could establish a dependable run game yet. And with the offense that they wanted to run, especially, and the formations and personnel groupings that he wanted to use, you've got to have a credible rushing attack. And he didn't have it, and he hadn't proven it yet. And that really is one of the huge things that proved to be his downfall, was he was still running plays that really relied on setting up play action or being able to physically win with heavy personnel or condensed formations, and they just couldn't do it because they didn't have the fundamentals down pat. So I'm cool with it, man. You know what? Hey, the Browns are going to get a lot of national media attention because they've got 4 different quarterbacks in a quarterback race right now. So I'm cool with it right now. I'm cool with it. I've got more content to get to. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. I'm Seth Payne, played for the Texans long ago, and right now I'm stuck in Eugene, Oregon. But I'm working to get back there. I'm working to get back to Houston, and then also hopefully West Virginia. Thanks, everybody.